Imagine everything you've worked for being wiped out overnight. Garen Armstrong is facing down regulators trying to inhibit roofing contractors from doing business, and he's here to show you how to fight back and win. In this episode, Garen shares his bold fight for contractor rights, how he's scaling Shamrock roofing with precision, and the lessons he's learned from navigating one of the toughest markets in the country. Garen Armstrong is a fearless leader behind Shamrock Roofing, a multi-million-dollar roofing company built on grit, growth, and standing up for what's right. Garen's story is a rallying cry for contractors everywhere, from battling unfair policies in Iowa to leading a team that's reshaping the roofing landscape. Garen's mission is clear: protect contractors, support communities, and never back down from a challenge. This episode is more than just a business story. It's a movement. Whether you're looking to grow your business, fight for your rights, or learn from a true trailblazer, Garen's insights are unmissable. Let's get started. Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business. Shamrock Roofing is in the house. Garen Armstrong, how are you, brother?
Hey, I'm great. It's good to be here. How are you doing?
It is, man. It's been a couple of years since we chatted. I think I love your story. I love your story of overcoming adversity, the health issues you had, how your team stepped up. We talked about that on the last podcast years ago, and wanted to have you back because, man, you just have continued to grow and expand, and it's been amazing to watch, and I think it's a lot of fun, man. Another thing, you're getting into it with government officials now. You're getting in the ring in the courts. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about that. Let's start with that, man. Iowa. All the things you've told me, Iowa has been kind of getting to be a very treacherous place for contractors in terms of UPA laws. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the IID, the Iowa Insurance Department, has been sending out cease-and-desist orders to multiple contractors, just putting family-owned and operated businesses out of work, and hired a police officer, cop, to set up snitch lines and set up a trap house to call contractors and have them come out to the house. They had a little hurricane microburst up there and so they had a house over by there, and they'd call people out, and if they brought up the process, they said, hey, you don't need to file a claim. Your roof is good. Boom, they send them a cease and desist. If a contractor heard about another contractor, they would call on another contractor. And this roof business is brutal, right? You got contractors. Yeah. It's very cutthroat. And so, if their intention was to help the homeowner, they wouldn't be going at and gutting the contractors and putting them out of business. And so they sent me a warning letter, and I said, my attorney sent them back and asked them, well, what are we doing? What are we wrong? They list 2 pages, a list of this very vague stuff of some of these things that aren't even laws. They're not even on the books, right? And so one of them was someone gave us a 5-star review on Google, and it said, Caden did a great job. He held me throughout the process. So they used the word process in there. And so there was just a long laundry list of things. And I said, we can't even talk. We can't even breathe. Can't even market. And so it's like so immediately I just sued them in federal court. I said, let's let the federal judges say what it is we can and can't say versus the Iowa Insurance Department, because there's ways to do this, right? Like, I'm in 16 markets and 9 states, and this is the only state that's this egregious on how we work, right? And so I'm happy, and I've got state representatives in Iowa that agree with me. This is way heavy-handed. It's very wrong. because of the amount of business that all these roofers provide. I mean, we're buying shingles, we're buying marketing, we're hiring subcon, we're doing all the things, right? And so it's a very unfriendly business situation. And in addition to that, it's where is the consumer? Where's the consumer protection advocacy at, right? Like where because if they're under the attorney general, then there's the insurance department. They're just lapdogs for the insurance agencies that are lobbying them to not pay the claims out, because the consumer protection agency should be protecting them. And the reason I did this is really it's about the passion that I have for time and time again that the elderly 80-year-olds, they pay their claims for year after years, and they're getting denied. They're on a fixed income, and you see their eyes start welling up, and then the roof is completely wrecked, and yet I'm the first line of defense. They don't even know what a public adjuster is. They don't know who's a public adjuster first and foremost. So they call a roofer. And then we come out there and start to explain it. But if you start to explain it, then boom, they put you out of business. Well, so and on top of that, a public adjuster will only take the claim if it's $50,000 or more. And the average claim, as we do, is $17,000.
Yeah.
And so it's been
not,
a ride.
I think to your point there is people don't call public adjusters to like, that's not their first call. Really, their first call is to a contractor or to their insurance agent, right? Like that's who they're calling first.
Right.
And if you're calling your insurance agent, that route, right? Like there's, and then, so having different eyes on it. Here's what's crazy to me, because it's like a sting operation is what you're talking about. And this is where it's really concerning, because, it's they're setting up houses, inviting contractors to come and inspect a roof, and then hitting them with the cease and desist because of anything that they've said at the, like, that's crazy, man. Like, I mean, the phone line and things like that is crazy too, but to actually set up like a sting operation to see if someone's talking about an insurance policy, to see if a contractor is talking about an insurance policy. Yeah. Wow. Like that's amazing. Like that's crazy.
It's very egregious. And that's kind of when, you have to stand up, and that's why I said, okay, I'm not going to file this in Iowa State so it can sit there and spin around in circles, because I'm friendly with the state. I'm friendly with I do business, I hire people from Iowa. I'm there. I'm not like wanting to go out of the state, but the federal officials, so who's overseeing the head of the insurance department of labor there, or insurance department? Sorry. So because it's the same it's attorney general, and the attorney general is overseeing the consumer protection agency. So, but I guess nobody's lobbying the insurance or the consumer protection agency.
No one's lobbying on that side. Yeah. Right. No one's lobbying on from the consumer side. Yeah. It's there. And man, it would be interesting to know how this came to be. Right. Like I would maybe you'll get to kind of find some of that out as you go through your case, but how did they say, man, we need to crack down on this. This is a problem big enough where we're going to hire a head of this department. We're going to go and do these sting operations and set up I wonder where that came from. So Garen.
I'll tell you. So the reinsurance market has gone up. So insurance companies have reinsurance, right? And reinsurance premiums have gone up nationwide from the storms everywhere, right?
Yep.
And so everyone's premiums have gone up significantly, right? And they have these cat storms, catastrophe storms, and then they call these little hail storms, they call kitty cat storms, right? And so they're saying this, all these kitty cat storms are adding up. Right. And so they think that, we're responsible for the storms that are happening, when only thing we're responsible for is answering a phone call or, going out there to go help a homeowner with the roof. That's, again, our average ticket item is $16,000 to $17,000. So at which, the public adjusters don't even come down and grab because it's not and I think only 5% or less than 5% of people even know what a public adjuster is, or even how to get one, if they would accept that case in the first place.
That's
and
right.
so there's this whole market of the 85% of people or more that need help. And, that's the solution is they need to pass testing for to be a general contractor, or get a roofing license there. They need to have more insurance. They need to raise the bar for people to be able to get in the roof in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole lot of things that can do different. And I'm happy, that's why I got the state representatives to talk to them about it, because I wasn't going to go talk to Doug Omen about it, who's the guy who was appointed by he's about to retire. Like, just go ahead and retire a year early, because I know this case is going to take some time. I'm not letting off. So, and the cop he hired, I got their names too, but
that's such a tough one. Another thing that I want to kind of loop back around to is they looked at language not only on your website about your company and what you guys do, but looking at those Google reviews.
That's
like, this is something that, it's a homeowner, it's a customer, someone, writing this. It's not you guys writing it. It's not even that is another egregious thing right? Like how far reaching, and how much are they, like, the type of digging that they're actually doing into this, like, is
right. It's over the top, and it's not only violating my freedom of speech, but I have, it's violating other people's freedom of speech about me. So now somebody can't say that I've done a good job, so it's like, when's that going to stop? Like, how do we change it? And so, that's why the federal court is the proper venue and jurisdiction for this.
Well, keep the industry updated on how things are going, man. There's a lot of people. I know a lot of good roofers in Iowa that I could connect you with too, and make sure you guys are all, kind of aligned and moving in the right direction, and having a cohesive voice. Cause this type of stuff is crazy. I know Roland Brown had to deal with this down in Texas, and had a struggle. It didn't end as in the way that it probably should have for roofing contractors, right?
That's right. He filed it in state court and Supreme Court. That's why we went straight to the federal court. And also, there's a lot of good roofing contractors in Iowa, and there's a lot of good public adjusters, right? But when NAPIA, National Association of Public Adjusters, are consistently praising the IID for their work, and then TAPIA and NAPIA wrote an amicus brief to the state regarding against Stonewater, that's when I'll use public adjusters who aren't not associated with NAPIA or TAPIA. I mean, they poisoned the well. They really did. They want to live off the backs. They want to market to the contractors like me, because again, nobody knows what a public adjuster is, and yet then they want to stab us in the back at the same time. Yeah,
it's crazy, man. It's self-interest is a strange thing, right? And it comes from all facets. It's the self-interest of the public adjusters, but the self-interest of government agencies, right? They feel like they always have to do more and always have to, hopefully we get some changes in that here in the next few years. But
yes, looking forward to that.
Yeah, hopefully, man. It's because it could get crazy. It already is crazy. We'll just
it already
put it
is crazy, and if this case puts them back on their heels and say, hey, we're enforcing this way too hard. We need to step back in our lane. We need to adjust how we're talking to, going after people or get their alignments in place, I'd be happy to say, hey, dude, this is what works in my other 8 states that I'm in.
That's right.
Your licensing, your insurance, you're this, you're this, you're this. To weed out a lot of the bad contractors, right?
Yeah.
That's all they have to do. And it's a revenue source because then they're paying to be a part of it. They're paying, all these things. So it even helps the state. But now that I got their attention, then I'll be happy to sit down with them and go over how we can help fix the situation. I mean, if they weren't setting up, sting operations and stuff, then maybe I would have gone about it a little different. But they didn't.
Yeah, it was a very like like you said, that's a very egregious thing, man. That's really crossing some lines there. Like it's like, what are you like? It's like they do that to liquor stores, and like they send underage people into liquor stores. They do like that's the type of stuff. Like it seems like it's much more for outside of what we do on a regular basis, right? This is. Yeah, this is crazy, man.
Right. Like so it's like a felony. It's not, it's a fine, but they're putting people's livelihoods out of business completely. And the subcontractors, and there's a whole and the manufacturers who's buying from them. There's the whole impact of that they're doing to hurt the ecosystem and the economy there in Iowa.
Let's talk about it a little bit on a broader scale, because you do operate in 8 states, right? How do you navigate the kind of the differences in regulation and in from all of the jurisdictions that you work in?
So a lot of attorneys, national attorneys. So that's one thing, but obviously we have a large back office, and we study the states, what they are, the codes in each state, what the licenses look like, and the municipalities, and then adhere to those. So I just got back from Colorado, had to take the Pikes Peak Class A General Contractors exam. I've already had a Class A General Contractors exam for 8 years, but they wanted their very own. So, I had to go out there to do that. And of course, the insurance requirements and things like that, which it's just something that separates the wheat from the chaff, right? And so I'm happy to do it. That's what Shamrock represents, and we overinsure our, so that and our quality of work. So, but when we're dealing with, it's 9 states and 16 locations, we definitely have a great back office looking at, pulling the permits, working on everything, and working on that. So it's not an easy feat.
How have you structured that? How have you structured it from operationally? Do you have a central location for a lot of things, and then you have your local stuff? How would I think it's interesting to people who are looking to grow, right? Like,
Great question.
Man, we could go and set up a shop there, and they could be completely independent and run everything there. What maybe how have you structured it, and what efficiencies have you found in the way that you've structured it?
So we structured it with the hub and spoke model, to where we have an HQ in Kansas City, and then all of our branches are, they started out going, 3 hours away, so we went up north, Omaha, Lincoln, Des Moines, and then started going, and then the seasonality of roofing started to hurt us really bad in the wintertime. And so then we started going down to the southern markets to keep to level out the seasonality. Still a real thing, but so then that's what we did. And then we stayed there for quite some time while we figured it out. And the way we did that was having the headquarters there, pulling permits, so we have everybody together in an office, 2 offices, actually 27,000 square feet, but that are working together, that's able to leverage other people's knowledge in the office, so that in a branch, we have an office manager, a branch manager, and basically field trainers that are out with the guys. as well as quality control. And then so that's how we set up each market. And then once we got that figured out from the 3-hour radius of the Shamrock Nation, then we were able to start, daisy chaining locations further. And that's been so we're down all the way down in Houston now. We're all the way over into Colorado Springs, Denver now, and up to South Dakota. So, but and the goal is to move up to the Quad Cities in Iowa, because I really, really love the people in Iowa. Yeah. What I love working in the heartland is, a handshake still means something, and that's I'd like to say that I'm brilliant and I planned this. I'm just born and raised from here, and so I've always had storms, grew up in it, and so anyway, so that's why the people of Iowa. I mean, that's what I really like working there. And then so when they did that, I'm like, look, man, this is not right. And so that's also what led into that. But
yeah, for sure. Now, as you're growing from market to market, let's talk about what you're thinking about. Like, and what you're thinking about now, not some of those first ones, right? Like, because I'm sure some of the first ones was like, oh, it's a 3-hour drive, there's a storm there, let's go, right? Like that's how, and maybe that's not how it happened, but that's how it usually happens, right? Like, from a strategic aspect now, because now it sounds like, now at the size you guys are at, there's some strategy, right? So when you're looking at your expansion, talk me through what you're thinking, how you're looking at the market, the team, what you're going to need in terms of, from a team side of things, from a logistical side of things. What do you walk me through that?
So I'm looking at the market demographics of where I'm going to go first. So because I've gone I've opened up, all of my offices are brick and mortar. So I've opened up brick and mortar in some locations that are smaller, right? And the way I market, we have a 600 time chance of winning the market, gaining the market share, right? And so there's some smaller, sub-secondary markets that we can just go through so quick, right? And I got to dial back my marketing. So I'm looking for bigger markets, older homes, or bigger markets that are growing and expanding. And then I'm going in there, obviously in my area where I live, throughout the Midwest, it's natural storms every year. Yep. So the storms are seasonal in nature, recurring in nature. So I'm looking for, the population of the demographics to go in there and to be able to support the markets. And then immediately I'm buying a location that has a utility, a flex space that I'm able to put, shingles, my material, put my trailers, my trucks, and immediately I'm moving in with 5 to 10 trucks. I'm opening it up. I'm recruiting. I've been doing internet marketing at that point, that location 3 months prior, so I'm already marinating the market. They know I'm coming. They see it. Most of the time we have leads coming in there, so the recruiting knows we're coming there. And so, that's how we move. So like if my competitors start seeing recruiting ads, start seeing marketing, they can start to,
you're coming. Garen's coming. He's going to be here soon.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. And this is, it's the struggles early on, and it's the benefits of size is that you can allocate resources in that direction without needing the return on investment to be so instantaneous, right? And so when you're smaller and you don't have huge budgets and you don't have, you don't have the opportunity to do this. Hey, all right, for 3 months, we're going to go, like if you're going into a market, let's just, in a range of that first 3 months from marketing and marketing that you're entering the market, what kind of range of a budget would you put on that 3-month period?
For someone who's starting up or for me?
For you. Like to go in and say, like, because I like to see people,
Yeah.
I want people to understand the differences, right? Like
Yeah.
that, because it, when you
Well,
actually understand marketing as the way that you guys do, you know, you understand what it takes, and sometimes it takes a
yeah.
lot, right?
Yes. So
Like,
yeah. So just on marketing for not for recruiting, just for marketing, I'm spending $20,000 a month in Denver right now,
got it.
and that's just all things. That's OTT. That's internet. That's
Yep.
everything. But I'm going there, and plus recruiting budgets, plus you're buying your
Yep.
trucks, plus the insurance in Colorado is
Yeah.
a lot more expensive. Um,
So
and
there's a big initial investment, right, when you're going there. But one of the way I like to put it, Garen, is if you have faith in the outcome, you'll execute, right? So
yes,
like you guys have created faith in the outcome through the actions that you've done through the years. So man, we're going to do this, and we know the outcome that we're going to get to. Now that outcome may vary, right? You've been to
right,
markets where the outcome is varied, and but
right,
and I don't know if you've ever had a market that you're like, yeah, that didn't work out for us, and you pulled back out of.
yes, I
Have you?
have,
Yeah.
I have. DFW. We went in from Tulsa down into to Plano. We marketed hard. We got a lot of leads. You got to be ready. It's so big. It's so expanding, but they get so many storms that they'll wait 2 years or three to replace their roof.
That's
They
right.
won't go right away. And on top of that, it's those suppliers, they'll sell $1 billion a year in material, and that market is so saturated. That is a broken market. I mean, if you want to be
Mhm.
in DFW, go retail, 100% retail, and you got to separate yourself from the rest, because there's no licenses. Anybody can be a roofer. And so, first thing, I'm a part of RCAT. I'm part of, I help love change the legislation in Texas to where you have to be licensed. You have to, because there's so much. I mean, that's another state that I would like to help, you know,
Yeah.
in as well. Like, instead of, going out using these UPA laws to get rid of contractors, just raise the bar for contractors, have them be licensed, have them have insurance, have them have these things. And that's going to weed out so many people. And then you'll get more quality of work, because there's so much shoddy work down there. It's just bad. But anyway, it just, with all the other markets that I'm in, it wasn't worth it. I mean, I'm still there, right? Like, we
Yeah.
still have a presence there. We still roof there. We call them. We'll go to retail work. It's all retail. But it's a cheaper. Everything's less. You're not getting paid as much for your roof. It
Yep.
takes longer. The homeowners have been conditioned over the years. Oh, you
Conditioned.
mean, so if I go with you for your roof, I don't get in this drawing for the shotgun and this trip? And you're like, shotgun? Who's offering a shotgun and a trip if I go for you, right? Like, they have stacks of flyers, when you go through the neighborhoods. So, and they've been told, so many different things. I mean, they see you coming up the driveway. They're like, aha, we
Yeah.
got one.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're okay, let's go back a little bit. When you're going into a market, you're gonna have a budget. So 60 grand for marketing for the first 3 months. You got another recruiting budget, 5 trucks, you're renting a flex space. One of the things that I want to go into a little bit with you, and how much material? I think we talked about this last time on the podcast too. That you buy you buy and manage your own inventory for
Yes.
materials, right?
Yes. So we have our own warehouse and our
Yep.
own supply company, which we buy, you know, 30 trucks at a time delivered.
Yep.
We're the second largest IKO purchaser in the country. So, we buy them in bulk. IKO and
Yeah.
Certainty is what we go with. And just Certainty has a nice luxury line, and IKO has, shingles have really been impressive. and their reps, the reps have been great to work with as well, because even though each market we're in, it's still a personal business,
Yeah.
and even from the top line of dealing with, SRS, Beacon, ABC, while I'm, great friends with the national account sales people, it's the branch down in, Northwest Arkansas. Well, they may not be up to snuff with, what so-and-so is telling them to do and how to treat, Shamrock and that type of thing. It's kind of a good old boy network still, so, which is fine, but then we go in there, we shake their hand. Hey, this is what we do.
Right.
This is how we do it. This is what to expect. But to get back to your point, yeah, so here, we buy in bulk, because it's no secret. Every quarter, there's a 15% raise in shingle prices. So we buy in bulk. And then we're able to and we've got our own conveyor trucks, our own, everything. So we're, throughout the greater metropolitan area, we're delivering all of our own. And, what happened, I learned that in 2020 when shingles, you couldn't get shingles. And as a roofer, if you can't get shingles, you're out of business. And so we just started buying them, slowly. It was just a little bit, so that we'd had some if it ever got to that bad again. And still right now, everyone's on allocation. We just have orders in. So when the plant has them, we are already set to get so many trucks from that. Mm-hmm. Because, we're still in allocation from all the storms down in Florida, North Carolina, and all of that. So, and then the Hurricane Beryl that hit Houston. So there's just a lot of, there's a lot of material going out. I know there's a lot of thoughts like, oh no, people are storing shingles and they're raising the prices on purpose. And I'm like, are you not like looking at what's going on in the storms? People are going through them. Like, there's no plant that's like storing shingles. If there is, then they surprised me. They shocked me, but it's really a supply and demand situation. And that's what we're dealing with. So that's why I buy them and stock up with them. And then you go, as when you're in 9 states and you're at 16 markets, you can't. You'll be friends with all of them. ABC, Beacon, SRS. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, I'm not ever using ABC again because XYZ. I'm not ever using Beacon again because of ABC. So, and I'm like, no, you got to play nice with all of them, and you can't be in love with just one manufacturer. And, and same with our northern markets. We use a lot of Malarkey too up north, but, so yeah.
So it started as, man, let's have things in stock so we can continue to work. That was the original, if I'm hearing you right, that was the original intention for buying buying materials in bulk, mainly shingles and things like that, right? But how has that changed? Because I know a lot of contractors now that are very strategically buying their materials. Maybe it's not shingles. Maybe they're buying all their underlayment or their pipe boots. It doesn't have to just be shingles, but they're buying materials in bulk and doing inventory management more on a basis of it's for additional profitability, right? Like they're taking on, how has that impacted your profitability it started off with, hey, we need to be able to work. Yeah. How have you been able to improve or how has it impacted your profitability now over the last few years that you've been doing it?
So it has impacted the profitability. But remember, each trailer is $250,000.
That's right.
A conveyor is $250,000. And if you're buying, underlayment and your felt and, you're saving some money, that's great. But then, you got to make sure you're out there on that job and you got to make sure that it's not short and you got to make sure that it's there. So you really need to be careful about that, And so, there was a lot of business learning lessons that I'll call them that I've paid for to get here. And there's been some months that have not been profitable from that, and so when you're paying for a lot of equipment, but I think, as people are buying underlayment, that's great. They can get their own marketing, their own, personalized, underlayment,
Yep.
that's great. But there's more to it than that. When I'm looking at it, I'm like, what about a box of nails? How much can I get some, nails too? Well, it's, if I'm getting something, I want to get something in bulk for all of it. So when I'm putting an order together for a home, I've got it all together, ready to go.
Yeah.
And so now, we get pallets ready for each, house that we're going out for, and then it's wrapped up and it's ready to go, shrink wrapped and ready for there.
Ready for
So
come pick it up, right? Come in,
yeah,
pick it
yeah,
up, like we'll load the trailer, and you guys are
yeah,
on your way. Like and so that's a whole nother. It's almost like you have to. It's a whole nother business within your business, right?
it
Like
is.
there's a team that needs to be put in
Yes.
place, especially if you're doing it at scale.
Yeah.
What were some of the key lessons you learned from that aspect?
Yeah. So starting out, I mean, you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. Starting out, you're doing that. Like, yes, you're saving some money on underlayment. Yes, you're saving some money on this. But then you realize your time and that you're spending to get all the material together to get it out there is opportunity cost from you going out there and taking care of another homeowner. And
Mm,
so that was the first lesson I learned. But it was out of necessity. It was in 2020 when everything was on allocation. And it did hurt the profitability from the operational cost, while yet you were able to make some bump in your margin from material. You're losing out on volume.
mm. Yep.
So
It's it
yeah,
it's a balance, right? Like there's always everyone wants easy buttons, right? And that's what I'm trying to point out is there's not an easy button to this, but like if you do it effectively, if you can manage inventory and your materials effectively, there's a lot of benefits to it, but you have to do it effectively. It's not just, hey, we just we just ordered this and we're going to write the check and everything's going to be great. Like,
right, right. Like, look, I just saved $5,000. Well, yeah, you're
that's
going
right.
to be spending your time on that, and you could have sold two more roofs.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. All
You
right. I
know,
want to go into, yeah, go for it.
Oh, I was saying about the easy button. That was kind of brought us
Yeah.
up to what we was talking about earlier. When there's so much information out there, and people
Yeah.
want to pick your brain or have a lunch, or versus kind of digging into what's this, your 251st podcast.
Yeah.
There's so much knowledge that you put out there already.
Yeah.
And others that's free for people to listen and learn from. But
Yeah. For
but instead
people,
of watching or listen.
yeah, for people listening, we were chatting offline a little bit about, people approach Garen a lot about, and have a lot of questions about, helping. And he's always really open to share, but it gets to a point where it's like, man, everyone out there is like, you got to execute, right? Like the way that I put it, Garen, let me get your thoughts on this. Like for me, I think people spend too much time on process in the beginning.
Yes,
And I think that they spend too much time on process and not selling. And if you're not selling anything, you won't know how to improve your processes because there's nothing coming through, right?
I think
So,
you hit the nail on the head,
right,
because every single time I hear this process, EOS, I'm like,
yep,
how many times my processes have changed as we've expanded and changed over the years, dealing with the seasonalities and the storms and the different situations that come up from life and the business changing. I mean, I'm constantly and never ending learning processes
constant.
myself. Yes.
Constant. And that's the thing. What I love about EOS is it creates an environment for solving those problems on a weekly, quarterly, and annual basis, right? But
Right.
what it does not market itself as is a solution to to your problems going away. It's just a framework to make sure you're solving your problems in a specific way, right? Like identify, discuss, and solve, and let's move on, because there will always be another problem. And then, like you're dealing with now, you're moving to a new location, new state, new jurisdictions, new culture. There's different culture. Houston is a much different place culturally than Des Moines, right? Like it's
very much,
the Midwest, the West, going out to Denver and different places. There's always a problem to solve, and you have to fall in love with solving problems, because there will always be problems. So go out and create problems for yourself.
That's right.
How about that? That's the first thing we do in business, is we go out and create some problems for ourselves, right? Problems should be, I've sold a job. How can I build this job? That's the first problem, right? But the first problem is, how do I sell a job? Then it's, how do I build a job? Then it's, how do I get efficient at building a job? Then it's, how do I get, how do I get efficient at selling jobs? How do I get, and it's nonstop.
Yeah. It's bad things happen when you stop selling. That's the bottom line. You got to keep selling, and that's it. Because
it's challenging.
The efficiencies will come. The efficiencies will come over time. But you got to be selling the job, profitable jobs. There's a lot of jobs. I say it's not a Shamrock client. I'm not racing to the bottom for a client. If someone else has a job and it's less than percent, 40% profit margin, have it. Go let someone else. I'm not. I don't want to arm wrestle for each client, because there's a client down the street that has 2 kids in soccer. They want to be dealt with. They don't want to worry about saving whatever percent of money. They can just they know that Shamrock's there. We've been around close to 50 years. They're going to take care of it from A to Z. They can go on and live their lives. If there's a problem with the warranty or anything, they can call us. We'll be out there to fix it. And so, the race to the bottom is a loser's game. And my advice to everyone starting up, don't get into it.
Definitely. How do you price jobs to maintain profitability?
So, basically, where's my book at? I have a little book here. Steve Patrick talks about it quite a bit, but 40%, it's markup and overhead. I think it's called markup and profit, but it's 40%. And so, and it's, I think the guy who wrote it might be 90 years old, but it rings true today. So, and I wish I had it. I'd pull it out real quick and show you. But it's markup.
This is where I think people get a little off, right? Is they're like, well, why do you need 40%? I think some people do this. They're like, man, that's kind of, maybe that's ripping a homeowner off, or maybe that, a lot of people feel that way. I don't but what are the unexpected expenses that you're building into that, right? This is where I think there's a lot of things that there's blind spots that people see in those margins when they're talking about, you're talking about your gross profit margins. People have blinders to to what goes into that, right?
Well, your liability, if you're putting a warranty on that roof, you're carrying that liability for the craftsmanship liability, your general liability you're paying for everything. You're paying to stay in business. That's why the average roofing contractor is out of business in 3 years. They're not out in 3 years. They're out in before 10. So because they don't make it, because they don't build enough profitability in their jobs, and they even talk about it in the book. I really encourage it. Maybe we'll put it up afterwards, but. People think, well, I'll make it up on the next job. I'll make it up on the next job. You can't, and it's a downward spiral, and then you're trying to climb out of a hole. And so you got to have a profitability on there. Otherwise, you're going backwards. And what's the point of all of the risk that you're taking as an entrepreneur? I mean,
Mm,
it's already the seventh most dangerous profession that we're in. Number one, no, so get paid.
yeah. And I think there's other things. That's why you talk and I know you guys because you're able to go into a market and market so heavy and go after hiring, and you're able to make that investment in the next market or in the markets that you're in, because you have that, right? Because you have
Right,
room for it. There's room for that. There's room for good people. There's room for paying
right,
for good people, right? Like you
right.
got to
Which I
have all of that is stuff that we don't look at in those
right,
margins. And
right,
so you have your liability, you have good people, you have good marketing, you have you have then created an environment where you can go
yeah,
and buy product in bulk. You've created an
yeah,
environment but none of this comes from shortchanging
right,
yourself, right? You're
right.
always, how'd you
You want
put
to
it?
have
You said something.
clean uniforms, clean job
Yeah.
sites, clean trailers, clean, equipment. Everyone's looking good, feeling good, and performing good. And quality people are more expensive than non-quality people. And
Yeah.
while I view myself as a great leader, I might not be the best manager. You know, so I have great managers that I hire, and they are great at managing people. I'm good at kicking open markets.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and great managers aren't cheap.
That's right.
So
They're not. Let's talk about your management structure and your expansion through as you've grown into these other states. You told me that you guys really recruit from within. You build leaders and you move to other markets with those leaders. Talk through that a little bit.
yeah, so as we grow, we hire from within. Culture is so important. It's the glue that holds everything together, and Shamrock Nation. And so we have the branch manager and training that we have, that we're constantly training leaders. So we're touching on leadership skills, constantly training them, so that when an opportunity arises, because they've been with us long enough, they know our culture, they know we're going to open a new market, and so they're able to, hey, put me in, coach. I want to go open up this new market that's 2 hours away. Great, you're up. Boom, let's go. And so they're able to go, then be a branch manager, and then start overseeing their crew. We start recruiting for them. They're getting paid more. They're a manager now, which comes with a lot of responsibility, because I have a lot of liability. And so the responsibility in the word alone is the ability to respond. So
Mm.
it's about grooming leaders. And so we groom leaders from within to grow from and hire from within. And because we've hired from outside before, and when you hire from outside, people kind of looking at them like, I don't know, they haven't earned their dues yet. How do I know this guy? Especially retreads in the roofing business, right?
Yeah. That's a big thing. So your culture is kind of filtering people. They're like, well, you got to. And so to put someone in a manager position and have people that's a tough one. What makes a great branch manager for you guys? What are some of the traits? What are the outcomes that they're producing? What makes a great
Yeah,
branch manager? What are their
yeah,
personality? What's their
yeah,
personality like?
yeah.
How do you
I,
know, man, this person's going to
it's
be it? Right.
it's consistency, it's loyalty, it's not prima donna, it's giving a servant leader mindset.
Mm.
It's somebody who puts others above themselves to see them rise. And so when they're staying late to help a new guy learn to make the process, to make, put his orders in right, so that he can make a good commission and he can really get into this job. Because once people become a roofer, they're roofers for life. I mean, they love it and they stay in it. But if they don't get in it and they don't start making their commissions, and they're not getting paid, then it's not for them. And so a servant leader's heart that's going to be helping others grow, that's what I look for. that and
Yeah.
consistency and little to that.
Yeah. And so that's that you're looking for leadership, not management in a way, right? Like I think that,
Right.
I mean, they manage people, but they have a leadership. They
Yes.
are a leader. They're
Correct.
leading the pack, and that, boy, I could see how that can lead to, the success that you guys have had in many markets, because it's not the person that's going there has that. And it's intentional. It sounds like they're really there, and they have that servant leadership mindset to really grow. As you're not every market in your area, because you said, what did you call it, the Shamrock Nation, right? You're
Shamrock
very
Nation.
heavy in more like the Midwest and things like that. Not every market has the same activity every year. How are
Right.
are you able to take some of the team from Omaha and shoot them over to, they cruise over to Des Moines, or
Yeah.
what's the, how does
Yeah.
how does the ecosystem work from a macro level to assist in, when there is when bigger opportunities arise in the markets that you're in?
Yeah. Great question. So, when they're throughout the heartland and South Central where we're
Yep.
at, I mean, there's storm seasonally, but if say a storm hits Northwest Arkansas, we're able to swarm it from, bringing the St. Louis guys, some Kansas City guys, shifting Tulsa over, bringing Little Rock up and hitting it hard. And so that's how we're able to do that. That's one way. The other way is we've implemented, we have a repair program and the roof rejuvenations, so that we're consistently selling repairs. I mean, we're brick and mortar in each place, so we're not really storm chasers. We're not storm chasers. If we are just located in Storm Alley, so we are the largest storm catchers mitt in the nation. That's for sure. So Shamrock Nation is the largest storm catchers mitt in the nation, but we're brick and mortar, and we're there to do repairs and roof rejuvenations and as well. So, but with that opportunity from having so many locations, we have a lot of young bucks that are willing to, like, hey, put me in, coach. Let's go down. I'm ready to go down to OKC. All right,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's go. And so, we'll put them up, and then they're there for until they're ready to go back.
Yeah. Do you do that? Do you just kind of put the word out to other branches? Hey, we got a big opportunity down in this market right now. Is anyone interested in going? Is that just as simple as that? Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And they make a work trip out of it. Usually we get an Airbnb and a couple of them, and the guys are on their way down, or gals. We have a lot of gals that are doing really, really great in the industry. I love it. And they're on their way down, and they're there for work. And, but then they go back.
One of the things that I hear from you from a marketing perspective, you guys do a lot of marketing. How, I feel like especially in storm markets, a lot of times sales reps get attached to the next door, and they just focus on the next door. But when that phone call comes in, and sometimes it's across town, right? And that rep doesn't like leaving that little honey hole that they're in, knocking doors to get across town. How do you balance that, and how do you not create? I guess another side of it is, how do you not create lead babies out of because of the marketing push that you're doing, that they're still, that your reps are still like in it and active and going after business.
Yeah, that's a $1 million question right there, and one that I've had to balance out, because we have the lead babies that are great at leads, and then you have the guys that they'll like, turn me off leads. I don't even want leads, and they want to be out there, and that's okay. But even with that said, I don't take lead babies and if they are, then they're just a W-2 employee. And
Yeah.
but what I would do is I reward the people who are out there in the field hustling with the leads. So
Yep.
if they hit a dry spot, you knock so much doors, right? So you don't hit the subdivision, you hit the cul-de-sac, you got the 6-pack, but then then they're like, okay, here's another lead. They find another area because they were working it so hard. Here's another lead. So we do play favorites. If you're hustling, we're gonna reward you positive behavior.
I love that because I think that there shouldn't be equality in lead distribution, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you, especially when you're spending marketing dollars, right? When you're investing a lot of money in marketing and you're giving it to your worst closer, man, like what are you doing there, right? Like, like you gotta be, the people that are executing on a high level should have priority in some of these things, man. I'm with you there because
we're a results driven organization that want to take care of our homeowners at the best possible way, so we continue to keep our ratings and our service of what we do. And I subscribe to a Jack Welch philosophy. Like, I'll cut the 20% right out the gate. Like, look, if you're not keeping up with the top, you're gone. You're off the team. I don't want you dragging my top people down. And they will. Yeah. They'll drag you down. But the guys will try to lift them up, keep lifting them up. But just leverage in that and natural will pull them down. So if they're not out there, they're just on the team to be part of, just to be a Shamrock or to come hang out, to get the free pizza, to get the free breakfast we have at Saturday sales meetings and all that jazz. Like, I'm not having it. Like, go find someplace else. Yeah. Power free to the roofer down the street.
So it sounds like standards are the answer.
Standards,
right?
Standards,
standards sounds like an answer to me to kind of summarize what you said there. Like, having standards and holding people to them is a great way. I want to kind of finalize this out with the, you've been in the business for a long time. You've seen a lot of things. You've had your own struggles and your peaks and valleys and things like that. What changes do you see coming in the industry, and how are you adapting to those changes?
So, traditionally being in the hail swath area, I'm seeing a big insurance shift. So we're doing a lot more retail, definitely presenting financing options right out the gate. And that's one thing. And I'm also seeing a lot of older roofers getting out of the business. And a lot of, these new startups, young bucks getting in, kind of rebel without a clues type, it's gold rush, the roofer rush, that see it, that want to get in. They don't really know what they're doing. They're fast talkers. And, so I'm seeing that shift. You got this dichotomy of the older, just quality, slow talking, roofers that we'll get to you if we get to you. We'll see how the day goes, versus these guys that are, spin around in circles and really not get there. So I'm seeing that in the business landscape. And then the insurance landscape, I see it turning more retail and financing, leading the way there.
How are you guys? What's your thoughts on adapting to all of the changes that are happening?
We're just doing Shamrock Nation way. It's blue ocean strategy is my philosophy, and we're going to continue to grow as we grow. We're going to train as we train. I used to say, if it's raining, we're training. Now we train every day. We're constantly training, and we're constantly recruiting, and we're bringing in quality guys. I'm bringing a lot of these, we talked about the gold rush guys that want to get in and start their own business. They realize that they can make more money being a project manager for a good company. So we're seeing that a lot coming on. Just they can make more money running jobs. So that's how Shamrock is doing it. We're just being the stable, sure-footed, tried and true, player in the game, and just stable, just steady as it goes. That's how we're handling it.
That's awesome, man. Garen, it's been a pleasure. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.